Awesome. I am starting a spoken mess now with my lecturer from university, Jason Pitt. Hi, Jason.
Hello, how are you, Anna? You're right.
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Mhm. Well, I think I was mentioning that, Mum. Yeah, I've got a swollen right ankle from sitting down doing online lectures for 2 weeks. I've just got old man's ankle, I think is what it's called, and I need to stop smoking and be younger.
Yeah, it's brutal that we all have to stay inside. It's harder to do the work that you specialize in as well. Well, I think you specialize in it, Meisner.
That's just one of the things I do, I think, which is strange because, I trained in that later. I trained heavily in Stanislavski's method to the point where you thought you were, yeah, it was more akin to being a psychiatrist than it was to be an actor. It's about why do people do the things they do and how. And then I sort of worked out that why isn't important. It's just, how we do what we do is character and that's behavior. And so essentially, I don't know, it studies into the human condition, Ali, I think, more than anything else. The acting bit is just a kind of add-on to that, really, I think.
Right. Okay, that's interesting. 'Cause I've created a character recently that for the 2-minute short films. I don't know if you know about those.
For who?
For Darren, we all have to create a 2-minute short film, and
Yeah.
for the character background of that, I'd add a life event, and then I didn't realize I was actually doing Stanislavski by doing that. But each little life event had a meaning to this guy. It had something to it.
Yeah. Yeah, that can really help sort of embed that sort of feeling of being anchored within character. So when other things go awry, you've done enough kind of background and research that you feel kind of comfortable. It's all about, I think, Ali, just which is what Meisner said, which is I always thought. Which interesting, I've just heard Jodie Foster say on this interview, and it's all about self-consciousness being the enemy of acting. And the more you can forget yourself and be unaware of yourself, the more you leave yourself open to the character. And she was saying how some of the child actors, because she was a child actor, how some of the child actors are just so good if you catch them before the age of 10 or 11, because they haven't developed a kind of sense of awareness. They haven't felt society's gaze on them in quite the same way, so they're free to be who they are. And then if you catch them 2 or 3 years later, things get complicated because they begin to start to think and see things through the prism of other people's eyes. And I think those are often the cages that, well, human beings find themselves in, but also actors. Particularly when there's a whole group of people earning a fortune. Literally, their sole job is the critics' sole job is to criticise and write and publish exactly what they think of what you've done. And in theatre and film, you've got hundreds, if not thousands, of millions of people, particularly in this age, in your generation, throwing out an opinion about what they've just seen you do. There's nothing else quite like it, and so it's really hard not to be self-conscious, and that's one of the things that childhood and play, which is what I try and foster and encourage in not just Meisner, but everything I try and teach. It's just like forget yourself, enjoy yourself, throw it all to the wind, jump and see where you go.
Yeah, totally. And that you mentioned earlier about like not being self-aware. As an actor, we do have to have empathy for the character, but when it gets to the actual moment, we have to forget about what others are thinking. We have to fully focus on the people opposite.
Yeah, and you have to forget your research as well. I mean, it's not like maths where, I don't know, so O-levels in my day, GCSEs in yours, and maths, I got them unclassified. In fact, a maths teacher told me that it was multiple choice largely, and a chimp could have got a higher mark than I did. It's that. But with maths, you have to show you're working. And in acting, you must absolutely not show you're working. I must not see you act. Acting is the last thing you must do when you act. In fact, I don't even like the word acting. I don't like it. It ties you straight in with the problem of acting, which is acting. The hardest thing to do in acting is act. And the hardest thing about being a professional actor is not being employed and not acting. But the minute you get a job, the first thing you must remember is don't act. For God's sake, don't act. If you do, then just say the lines intelligently with some sort of instinct and some sort of phrasing and mix it up a little bit and don't bump into anything. And hopefully that will work you out. But that's not the sort of acting or actors that I'm drawn to.
Right. By not acting, you mean like not faking it, like you really feel the emotion.
Yeah, don't lie.
Yeah.
I said somebody wrote in. I give him some sort of. It was a Meisner essay, which I hate the fact it's an essay, but we've had that conversation. I know as a group, but it was the year before you had said. And sort of quoted me as going, I thought I was doing quite well in the scene. It was a reflected essay until my lecturer, Jason, until my lecturer started, stop fucking acting, Jason Pitt 2020. And I was like, oh no, I'm going to get into so much shit for that. But I didn't, thankfully, because I was marking it and then I tried to bury it. And she was absolutely right. I remember being livid because she was doing something, she was acting. Stop it. If you don't believe it, if you don't feel it, don't say it. For God's sake, don't say it. Don't say it. Don't say it. You've got to believe it. And how you get there, do you know what I mean? Whatever blows your frock up. And I say to first years and all through second and third years, my job is to find your method. My job isn't to bang on about Stanislavski some 100 and something years ago, or Meisner, or Adler, or Strasbourg, or anything else. I might sort of say, oh, this is what they felt about that. But the idea is that you develop your own sense, your own method. You develop what works for you. And you take a pinch of my class and a pinch of Al's class, Andy's class, Adam's class, Clear's class, the rest of them, Darren's class, and you do what works for you. I don't care how you get there, but I have to believe. And broadly, you can say that if you're watching someone that doesn't believe what they're doing, then I'm not going to either.
Right. Yeah. Right. So as an actor, like if they're doing a maths puzzle, for example, if they don't believe they're doing that maths puzzle, it's just a person scribbling on a piece of paper.
Yeah, it's just emotional masturbation, mate. Sorry, I'd normally say wanking, but I realise we're recording, but I've said it anyway. But it's just go on and emote some emotions you don't feel and expect me to watch and be bewitched by you. And I'm not going to be. I'll just shout out, you're lying. You're lying. And it's really interesting. I decided that I'd look up my old acting teacher, my method teacher, who was called Robert Fried, and he was this Hungarian guy who was really passionate, and he'd studied philosophy in Tel Aviv, and he'd done director's courses at Drama Centre, and then he was head of acting at Arts Ed when I was there. Then he went on to the Oxford Stage School, and now he's at RADA doing an MA in exactly what he taught me, and he would just shout out 3 or 4 times through mostly my performances, wank, wank. He'd just shout wank, wank, like this. He'd just shout it out. If I stopped, he'd go, why have you stopped? And I'm like, well, you're shouting wank at me. This is pretty tricky, do you know what I mean? And he went, well, it's because you're just emotional masturbation. You just shout wank. And I remember it. I just remember being kind of like, oh, okay, so you just push on and keep on going. And he had me on this exercise, Life and Death, where he wouldn't. There was a series of 30 exercises through about 2 years. And I did quite well. I got through, I kept getting through, and I was ahead of the class, and I was feeling pretty smug, I think. And then we got to this Life and Death where you had to come up with a scenario with a duologue devised, where you had to actually reach a life and death state. You had to absolutely fear for your life. And if you didn't absolutely fear for your life, you didn't get past the exercise. You could act your arse off. You could cry. You could roll around in a fetal position, which I ended up doing, actually, but for different reasons. And he wouldn't pass me. I spent a whole term on it. And I was like 8 ahead of everybody else. And he would not let it go. And eventually when I went, I did it for about the 9th time. And I thought I'd blitzed it. I was in bits. Someone had tied me up with my legs apart. They were going to kick me in the bollocks. I was drunk because the guy had brought a bottle of whiskey into the exercise and he was pouring it down my throat. So I was actually coughing and choking, and he chipped my tooth about 3 minutes in because he just rammed this bottle into my neck. And I went, oh, this is it. This is art. This is drama. And at the end, he just went, no. And I went, what? Are you joking? I did everything there. I did everything that was... And he just went, no, you gave in. And I went, what? He went, you gave in. You gave in to the emotion. You gave in to the life and death state. Where's the drama in that? You gave in. It's the fight. The conflict is in fighting the life and death state and staying alive and not losing it and falling into a quivering fetal position with a chipped tooth, drowning in your own kind of whiskey. And so he made me do it for another semester. Well, term, as we used to call them, because we're British and we should say term. So, yeah, I looked him up and just went, yeah, he was the seed of everything I kind of know. But I don't agree with everything he did. He was just Mr. Method. And then I ended up teaching Meisner. But first year I teach Stanislavski a bit as well.
Did you ever pass it in the end?
Yeah. And then he called me in you know how with you, Ali, or with everybody, you'll put an assessment in and I'll write, or whoever will write a paragraph and say, oh yeah, this is what I thought. In my day, you were pulled up in front of the entire year, and it was like kind of mastermind. You had to get in this big sort of broad-backed chair that was always in the wings. It was some like, royal kind of, you felt ethereal on it. You felt kind of, like a king. You'd sit there, a spotlight would go on you. Everybody else was in darkness. It was in the round. Your entire year was there, and they'd go through every single class you'd ever done and take you apart. Absolutely take you apart. And then he looked down. I remember Robert Frieden frowned because I thought, I'm your star student. Clearly, I'm going to be absolutely lauded here. And he slammed me. And he said, yeah, you got through everything quicker than everybody else, didn't you? You're very slippery, Jason. You're very slippery. You slip through my hands. You think you can cheat me. You think you can do half measures. You think your instinct will get you round. And actually what that makes you is a narcissist. And I was like, oh, man. And I think that's sometimes when students, as we were drama, students from 30 years ago come to your generation, and there's all the mental health things, quite legitimate mental health things, some of which I've been through myself and, counseled other people in. There was you have to develop such a sort of leather skin, but keep that heart of a poet. You have to develop such resilience that when you were in the profession, nothing really kind of touched you. Art said was heavy methods and just took you apart. They took you apart, told you what you couldn't do, and then built you back up. Some people, they didn't build back up successfully and they just fell apart. So we started with, there was 1,500 people auditioning, 33 in the first year. And by the time we got to the third year, there was only 14 of us left. You couldn't do it now, which is why sometimes I think, I'll get sacked from Meisner, because I touch on some of the things that are akin to my kind of training in Meisner. And I don't think I'll get away with it for very long, because I don't think you can do that to people anymore. But I persevere.
Yeah, I don't think any of the students would take kindly to having a bottle of whiskey rammed down their throat.
No. He'd also insisted at least once in the year we had to do a scene totally nude. As close up as we are, Ali, when we're in class, totally nude.
Oh, my God.
Whether it was required in the performance or not, you just stand there and give a performance in the nude, an improvised performance in the nude, based upon a series, an objective, a super objective, an action, and 3 activities. So the way you achieve your kind of action is by flirting or by undermining, so that the other person feels flirted with and undermined. So they give you kind of ammunition, bullets, if you like, that you would achieve your objective, which if you achieve you'd achieve your action. If you achieve your action, you achieve your objective, and then the super objective in the piece that you were doing was also achieved. And if you didn't do any of those things, you had to have 3 different sort of bullets in order to achieve your action. All I ever sort of say, and what he used to say to me is, what do you want? What do you want? What does the character want? And it's the same in Meisner. What do you want from the other person? Then play that at all costs. Play that and be available to what they want from you. And if you don't want to give them what they want, then don't fucking give them what you want, and then you've got conflict, and then you've got drama. But what I see quite a lot on telly, and certainly at training students, is nobody really wants anything very much in a scene. And so what happens is you just end up with this sort of flat emotional topography where nothing much is happening. It's just essentially an exercise in memory and taking turns.
Well, kind of like what happened with my first scenario in Meisner with the prison.
Yeah, a bit like that. But with dialogue, with actual lines. I'm just looking at a load of auditions now and internal auditions for Chichester. The ones that I just go, come on. And most I just go, oh, come on. Do something. Acting's a doing thing. Do something. Stop just being pretty, or stop being intelligent, or stop being profound, or just stop it. The character isn't thinking about it. The character wants something. And if you don't want something, if you don't play the need, that driving need, then what we get is not conflict. What we get is not drama. What we get is not theatre.
Right.
Theatrical, be it on camera or otherwise. And the camera's a lie detector, The camera's it's an empathy machine. The camera is an empathy machine. That's what it wants. That's what it lives on. It's not batteries. It's empathy. It wants empathy. It wants the human condition. And if you channel it, it's like me going out and putting a gallon of petrol in my car, but also thinking, petrol's quite expensive. I might just stick a sort of half gallon of water in as well, just to make it go further. No, it will break down.
Right. You need the raw fuel, the raw emotion.
Yeah, and the better fuel you can find, the better. Yeah, so go super unleaded when it comes to acting. That's one of my go super unleaded. Don't go for the regular unleaded. Go super unleaded and make sure you've got a really decent oil in it. And make sure you service the car every sort of 5,000 miles. Even though you don't have to do it, it'll run better. just the same, but with that creative engine rather than a combustion one. I'm hitting out the metaphors, aren't I, Ellie? I'm off for them.
You are. It's wonderful. I remember there were so many metaphors in Meisner last year.
Oh yeah, the cow, the udder of Meisner, wasn't it? In the cow of Meisner, and the surfboard of, and yeah, it goes on. It seems to be the most visual way to get across what I feel and what I feel. It just seems if you can put it in a picture, then it means, particularly with the students that are running a processing condition, you see a lot of dyslexia, dyspraxia, or sort of running under the umbrella of sort of mental health or whatever. You just think, if I can hit you with a picture, you'll remember the picture. It's not what I exactly said.
Right.
But I think all actors should think in visual. Should just think visually. Just think visually all the time. All the time. Not internal. Not internal. We're not psychiatrists. We don't need to know why. We just need to know how.
Right. And the visuals always provide just a how with pure emotion. If you're thinking in words, it's logic.
Yeah, and the visuals will take care of themselves if everything else is in place. Your job isn't the visuals. You're watched. You shouldn't be watching. The only person you should be watching is the other person in the scene with you.
Right. Okay. Totally selfless.
Yeah. I mean, it's so easy, isn't it? Really, it's just so easy. But isn't it so hard when you break it up?
It's so difficult.
Yeah, just pretend well. You know, you did it as a kid. Just pretend really, really well. And yet it's so hard because...
Isn't that acting?
Yeah. And everybody thinks they can do it, which really annoys me. Because even the people that do it, they can do it, and mostly they can't. There's only a few of us that can do it really, really well. And I have to say, I wasn't one of them. Occasionally, over 25 years, I'd nail it and just think I was rather good. But for most of the time, I was just a safe pair of hands, you know. And some of the time, I was absolutely awful.
Really?
Awful. Yeah, awful. I'm much better at what I do now than I was as an actor. Way better. Well, way more consistent. And I enjoy it more. And I've got slightly more in the bank. At the end of the month, I can pay my rent, which was when I came here 5 years ago. I didn't earn any money here for about 2 years because I was just trying to learn my trade of whatever it is I do now. But now I go, I go to the cash till and go, oh God, here we go, cash. Maybe I'll get 10 out. And I'll get 10 out. And then I think, oh no, you're all right. You could get 30 out. You might be all right. That's quite nice, particularly at 54. It's nice to just not sort of worry. But no, that I couldn't go on holiday or anything. Or, you know, I've got no money really, but I can make the rent and my outgoings now, which for 30 years I wasn't able to do.
Oh man, God, that's so difficult. So for 25 years, you were going to castings and auditions.
Yeah. I left school at 15 with not a single GCSE to my name. Flunked everything. Got into trouble at school, but tricky adolescence. And then but I knew I needed about 3 or 4 O-levels at that time to get into this foundational drama course. And so I went and auditioned, and they liked it. I can't remember what I did, but I remember just sort of thinking I was sort of Burkoff. I just got really edgy and a bit sort of, it was punk to me. It was like, fuck the world. Do you know what I mean? I thought it was quite, sometimes you sort of identify yourself by what you're not. And so I ended up just going, yeah. And I think they thought it was raw enough to be interesting, if not good. And then they gave me an unconditional offer. I said, look, I'm not going to get the O-levels. And they went, don't worry, we'll have you anyway. And it helped that I was male, because there's so many young female wannabes. And fewer male, so I got in. And then at 17, they said, you want to think drama school, but you probably won't get in because you're young and cross. And I was like, all right. And then I got into 2, and I was really surprised. I went to like Drama Centre and Arts Ed, and then went to Arts, not that Drama Centre, because they said, do you have a religion? And I went, no. And they went, well, now acting is your religion. And I just thought, oh, fuck off. And ran off. And the third years were on the panel, and they started laughing at me when I was doing Hamlet halfway through the speech, and I was quite leery in those days, and I thought, God, I'd have to tear your face off really, but I can't because I'm in an audition. But clearly, when they asked me questions afterwards, I gave them an answer. And they were like 19, 20, and I was 17, and they giggled, and I got cross. And so I took them on a little bit. And anyway, I was next to a guy that was also doing Hamlet that was in a Miss Selfridge negligee. He had nothing on underneath. It was one of those white ones with kisses on, you know, like Miss Selfridge kisses. And he had a lipstick in his hand. And I went, what are you doing? And he went, Hamlet. I went, I'm doing Hamlet. Just before we went in. I went, what's with that? And he went, well, just at the moment where I say, I don't know, I forget the line. He says, I tear this off and I write, I love mum across my chest with lipstick. And I was like, yuck. And I didn't think, oh, what a knob. I actually went, shit, I should have done that. That's probably a good idea. Anyway, I sort of walked out the place cross. He didn't get in the end, which was good. And this third year student who pissed me off called me up near Chalk Farm down near Camden and went, you're in. I went, what? You never tell people on the day when they wanted to need to catch you up to tell you that you're in, and they just really liked your, well, arskiness, I suppose. So there you go. But I hated it so much, I just thought I've got to do more auditions so I don't have to go there. And then I got into Arts Ed. And then I went for 2 weeks, and I hitched back home on the 30th of September. It was my birthday, because I was in a 2-year relationship with a girl I loved very much, and she was back up in Yorkshire. And I just went, fuck. I was going to a class, I was late, and if you were late at Arts Ed for more than 3 times in a year, you got kicked out. And so the acting teacher didn't let me in, the same guy, Robert Freed, and I just thought, fuck it. And I stayed in a hostel, packed my stuff up, hitched home, crewed for 2 years, and then contacted Arts Ed and went, do you remember me? And they said, yes. And I went, can I come back? And they went, yes. And then I went and did it for 3 years. It's the best thing I ever did. I met my wife. So, yeah.
So you've been together for like 30 years now?
Yeah. Second year, we snogged December 1988. I dropped her off home in Yorkshire. And I was with that same girl, Tracy, and she was with another guy. But yeah, it was all a bit illicit. And then we had an affair for 6 months. And then it all came out. And yeah, still together.
How dramatic.
I know, how weird. I know. It's nice. There's a nice poetry to it in retrospect. And then did that. And then I knew someone that said, do you ever fancy coaching acting? And I went, no. And she went, oh, well, it's 3 classes a week. It's, I don't know what it was, however much it was an hour. And I went, yeah, all right then. So I said to my agent I wasn't available on a Tuesday and Wednesday morning. And that was 2015. And in 2016, I got a promotion and more classes. And I said to my agent, look, I'm just going to give this lecture in a term. And in the end, I said, I'll be back in a year maybe. And then I just didn't. And then I got promoted to senior lecturer and thought, all right, I'll stay here for a bit. But I don't know how long I'm going to be here. I might go back to acting. I don't know.
Oh, you still might go back to acting?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I know way more about it now. I mean, I might be a bit better.
Brilliant. Yeah. I guess you've had a lot of practice, like by analysing students and such, you get to find out what could work for you. Yeah.
And I'll tell you what the joy is when you see some student doing something you couldn't do when they were their age and you'd struggle to do now, and they're just brilliant. And also the students that that go, yeah, I'd have tripped at that hurdle too. That's exactly what would have happened to me. And that you're saying things that don't really have massive resonance or register with the student in the class now, but maybe in 5 years' time they'll go, that's what Jason used to bang on about. That's what happened to me.
Right.
Makes sense as you get older. It's like Meisner said, it takes 20 years to make an actor. So.
20 years? I thought it was 10.
Yeah, it took 20 years. Yeah. Make a decent one. Yeah.
Did you have any methods whilst you were doing casting for so long, like going to these auditions? Did you have any methods to like stay strong and resilient? Because
man, yeah. I mean, it's a really tricky balance, Ali, because you have to care enough to want to get it, and not care enough for it to sort of be water off a duck's back if you don't. Once you do a lot, you just realise your strike rate might be 1 in 6, 1 in 8 castings, or something. Depends on commercials, or depends what you're going for. You get more instinctive. I never did a whole lot of preparation because I'm better when I don't think. So I'd walk in there. You'd also the part you just go. Also, it's a case of, do you want to work with the director? There were a lot of people in there came out and thought, I don't want to work with you. I don't get it, and then you end up getting it. But I did everything I got. It wasn't like I could pick and choose. Well, again, nerves play a big part. I learned to, I tell you what, when I had kids, little baby to feed, and I was still living in this 1-bedroom rented flat in Kilburn, and it had rats, and I just thought, how am I going to get out of here? Then auditions take on a whole new meaning. You just like, that's going to put food on my table. It's not about the art anymore. It's about paying for my newborn. And that took the attention. It's the best thing that can happen to an actor is having a kid, because it takes the attention off you, because it's a massively selfish, inward love affair with the self acting. The minute you have a love affair with somebody else, then it puts things into perspective. But you get to know what they look for. And I'll tell you what was really helpful, Ali, is sometimes you get a cast in a job and they'd say, right, you're casting it, but we need to cast your brother or your girlfriend or whatever. And they'd say, would you be on the audition panel? And then you sit in on the audition panel and you watch shitloads of actors coming in, and you realise that 2/3 broadly fuck it up royally, and a third well, half of that third. I can't do maths because of my unclassified at GCSE, obviously. But some of them are just brilliant, and some of them aren't. And then I just think, everyone goes on about RADA and drama schools and why they must be brilliant. That's where the training is. But my argument is they saw 1,500 people and picked 30. Those people are already brilliant. Those people are already really, really good. And all they do is nurture and shine what they've got. And if you're at Chichester working or student there, you're only beating, on AFF now, I guess 250 for 45 places, 250, 300, maybe a bit more now because it's gone up. Mm-hmm. So you really don't need to do very much to these very young, instinctive, talented people. So I always say that in open days or in castings, and I might have probably said it to you all, I can only sharpen what you've got. I can't give you that blade. I can just correct it and file it and hone it and bend it and twist it and put it under heat again and try and reforge it. And I can only do that because you can't buy a blade. You can't buy an instinctive blade. You just can't do it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that you really taught me that during Meisner after the prison scenario, because you went off on this big rant, which was marvelous. It taught me so much, and you kept saying about the art of it and the passion of it, and if you haven't got that drive, then why are you doing it? And it just sent me back to when I was doing physical theatre back in I think it was middle school. No, it was high school. And God, I was passionate about the art, and I'd lost it. I was just thinking logic, business. I have to be an actor, but it changes it.
Yeah.
When you think about the art.
Yeah, you got to want to do it more than anything else, or it'll find you out. The profession and the training. I see first years that go, I don't think this is for me, and I don't like the course because it's me. And I'm like, whether you like the course or not, it's neither here nor there. You kind of look and go, you don't have it, and you slowly, in the first year, the first semester, work out who does have it in your class as a student, and you work out, and there's a sort of status grab and a hierarchy grab and a talent grab, and it becomes rather clear rather swiftly who can do it and who can't, and who's somewhere in the middle. And I think the business does that it'll find you out. If you don't want it more than anything else, then it won't have you. Or if you want to do something else equally as much, then you'll probably end up doing that because it won't be as competitive. So you've got to want it more than anything else. But even before you're good at it, so many things, you just got to want it more, because you'll spend 25 years getting turned down 1 in 10 jobs or 1 in 5 jobs, and it depends on your strike rate. And you better bounce back from it. Otherwise, you're going to spend 27 grand and then bump out in 2 years. Mostly, I think within 5 years, half our year had stopped. And within 10, there was only about 3 of us doing it. And they were all good. Yeah. It's just, acting, so much about acting is the life you will have to lead because you've chosen to be an actor. Right. And when you're acting, that's fantastic. But every time the car breaks down, every time that the landlords come, every time you get a bailiff's letter, that's because you chose acting. Every time you can't pay the bills, every time you're thinking, should I shoplift this silver side of beef because I can't afford it, but then I have meat in ages. Seriously. And every time I work security, I work landscaping, labouring and bar work, and the older you get, and I was 32 and still still working in a restaurant in Kensington. It's all because I chose acting. All of it was because I chose acting. But then again, my wife was because I chose acting. From that, my sons are here, and that's because I chose acting. I'm doing this job now, which for the most part I love. For the most part, because I hate it in other areas, because I chose acting.
Right. Would you mind me asking what you don't like about it? Or is it about the teaching?
It depends where this goes, mate, really. I've got to kind of watch myself.
Of course, yeah. You don't want to be kicked out or fired because of some student's podcast. That'll be a bit shit.
No, it'll happen eventually, but it would be unwise of me to say what I don't like about it. Everything in me wants to tell you the truth, Sally, but the slightly more adult version of me goes, it's probably not a good idea, Jay.
Oh, man.
But I love it for all the reasons. What you need to know is I love it for all the reasons I've stated when I see it. I'll tell you why I love it. Every week, if we're in live classes, I laugh to the point where I nearly need to sit down about twice a day. I really enjoy the social side of it. I enjoy meeting young people. I don't see them as any different from me. They just haven't been alive as long, that's all. And I'm moved nearly to tears twice a week. the work of the human condition is amazing, and I'm paid for it. That's why I love it.
Yeah, the empathy.
Yeah, and the relationships that you form, the people that I don't know yet, that I'll play a part in their lives, and they'll play a part in mine, and I'll see them grow up, and I'll see my children before I sort of, fall off my perch with my swollen ankle.
Totally, it'll have that butterfly effect affect every student you influence.
Mm. Yeah, it's my kind of vote. I'll say, I haven't got a religion, and I'm political, but the most important thing I've done in the world is put two young men in it that are hopefully right thinking and will improve the world a little bit, just a little bit. They're like the better version of me. That's the idea. And I just think, everyone needs to ask themselves a question at some point: is what are you for? What are you for? What? Who's benefiting from you? And the older you get, the more that became anyway for me. It became more important. What am I for, and who's benefiting because I'm here? And if you kind of go, I don't know, and not many people, or I don't know, and only my girlfriend or my mother loves me now and again, then I would suggest it's not. That's a life half lived.
Totally. I try to apply that to every single project I start, even like the 2-minute short film. I have to.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's nothing that's driving me. I've made it way too complex, and it's stressing me out. And I'm up at I think I was up at 12:30 last night, just thinking what could I create? But I have to, because if I didn't, then I wouldn't have created art, I suppose.
Yeah, and for me, that my mother was Catholic, but it's the same thing. You could say the creative devil will make work of idle hands. He will, or she, however you see the devil in you, however you see your demon, will eat you alive if you're not creating. If you don't do anything, you'll go just like a muscle. It'll just go flabby. You need to keep working, and it's hard as an actor. Easier for your generation, because you can make a little short on your film. You can get some editing software, and you can get a little gimbal even for your iPhone, or you can save up for, or whatever, and you can put some stuff out there. Whereas with us, in my generation, it was just, you couldn't do anything unless you were working, or you do a little fringe show if you can get into it, but no one will come, and it'll cost you a fortune. And but at least you're working. So we used to do that. But I think now the pressure on young actors is all you can do act. Oh shit, that's not enough. You need to be able to do loads of other things, par acting, in order to get your acting out there. You need to have an eye. And I think, if anything that's good about this lockdown is, my sort of tutors used to say, look, all you need is bare boards and a passion. That's it. You just need something to stand on and a passion, and people will watch. And it's the same. Once you take away all the stuff that we feel, I can't do that now because we're not face to face. I can't do. But how am I going to? Well, what you're left with are the bones of a foundation or something. If you take acting right back to the dawning of time, all they had was fire, some dye that they used to get from flowers and animals and stuff like that, and they paint their pictures on the walls behind them. They had absolutely nothing at all, and yet they were able to tell stories, and they were able to enact those stories. And then later in time, people would come and pay to see those stories. Like, they had nothing. So when you've got nothing, if you strip it back to nothing at all, as far as that perception is, then what you've actually got is the seed of everything you need. But if you don't nurture the seed, then you're fucked.
Right. Yeah. Of course. There's no excuse nowadays.
No, but look at you. You're the only student in 5 years that's ever said, can I interview you on a podcast that I did? Yeah, look at you. I don't need to be doing that. You don't need to be doing this now. I cycled back from the seafront having a cup of coffee, and I thought, Ali's going to contact me at 3. That's fantastic. And cycle back happily. And I thought I would cycle back happily to entertain the creative endeavours of my students. I think that's absolutely brilliant. So you should congratulate yourself, to be honest, man. That's exactly what you should be doing. Get involved. Keep doing stuff.
Yeah, I go crazy if I don't. Like you were saying, the creative devil inside. I think I turn a bit evil. Like, I think we've had a conversation before about the Joker and Charles Manson and all this. And if I don't exercise that creative demon through podcasts or filmmaking, I don't know. I just go a bit mental. I get annoyed with myself. I become probably a bit bitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you see the potential of those characters. Even Charles Manson, that he was able to hold. I often wonder that. You just think you've got to be pretty special to begin and start and manage and run a sect. You know, people have got to, you've got to have something about you for people to just go, yeah, I'm with Ali. I'm going to live with Ali, and everything he says is just bloody brilliant. And you've got to be pretty special. The Joker. You imagine if you put Charles Manson and combine it with all the Joker's take and Charles Manson's take, and it wasn't thrown down this negative, destructive, kill everybody, eat yourself kind of avenue. If it was put down a more kind of creative avenue, the things that those two characters would be capable of, even though one's fictional, would be immense. You know, Hitler, this I put something nothing Austrian guy, managed to wander into Germany and unite a whole nation and take a world war on, and everybody voted. You know, they believed in what he was doing. He held, you know, the rallies would just watch them. They're bewitched by this man. What did he say? What was he doing? How did he do that? He wasn't square-jawed, and he wasn't like the SS that he pretended to, that he wanted to rise above. He wasn't Aryan and tall and square-jawed and blue-eyed and handsome and athletic. He was a veteran of the First World War, but yet people followed him. Charles Manson, strange little guy. People followed him. Yeah. It's just incredible with people's potential, but it's up to where they choose to put it. And I know that if I'm not involved in all this, the skills that I flatter myself that I have, I'll turn inwards and use them on myself, and it'll become really self-destructive, and that's where my mental health will take a dip, and I'll take myself apart. Right. Because it's Meisner, because the focus becomes about me and my inner voice, and my focus isn't students, and my focus isn't work. So in the holiday time, sometimes I kind of struggle a little bit because I just go, I've got no outlet. It's just about me, and I start to run sort of self-scans rather than using that kind of view to help a student or to help somebody else, but a student in this case. Without that, then it's just little old me rattling around in my head and gut, and sometimes it's not a very pleasant place to be because I've got no focus or outlet.
Yeah,
it's important.
Totally, we just turn inwards. I've been speaking with my sister recently about how hard it is to create a structure because I think she feels a little jealous that I've got the university because she's 30 years old now and she's just out in the world. But it's so difficult to set a timetable for yourself and just stick to it. So hard.
Yeah. And I think sometimes that's what university gives you. I think everybody thinks, you've got to be good at the subject you do. And I think, well, that's probably quite useful. But university is just the next step into life. It's not quite life yet. It's a half step. And it helps you sort of focus and clarify who it is you are a little more. And I think sometimes people, might say, 27 grand is too expensive. And I agree. I think it is, particularly with the contact time of universities. But I just go, it's not the only thing you're learning, You're learning who you are, and you're learning how to relate, and you're learning to take on concepts that perhaps are a little big for your head at the minute, but will make more sense in that sort of drip effect later on. And you're learning, you're finding your tribe. It's a bit of a cliche, but you find your tribe, and you work out how to be creative with other creatives, and how to fall out. And that's important, falling out. I fall out with a lot of students that leave hating me, and hopefully they'll come around. But sometimes they don't. But it's the risk you take. At least it's a feeling. At least if someone leaves and go, thank God I'll never see Jason and his fucking shtick ever again, I go, God, I've had some impact upon you. Good. I wish it hadn't gone that way, but good. I need to reach you. I need to touch you. I need to prod, and I need to get a reaction off you. And if it's negative, I'll take that.
So you'd prefer someone to say, like, screw Jason, I never want to see him again, than, that was all right. That was a good lesson.
God, every time. How can I be all right? If someone says I'm all right, fucking hell, that would do me in. Yeah, that's mediocrity. That's Jesus. Hate me or love me, please. And flip between the two, that'd be nice too. But don't. Oh, God. Yeah. If everyone just went, I know there are lecturers like that, and I had tutors like that, I hear the perception is, yeah, it's fine. And I'm just like, wow, I'd just give up if I just thought people going, it's just, what's the point?
Yeah.
What's the point? I want a reaction.
It drives me crazy.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, it drives me crazy when I've got a lecturer that isn't prodding me or testing me or not pushing me. It just feels like I don't want to be mean here. I don't want to say anything that a lecturer might listen to. So it's just, like you said, if you're not bringing that passion out of someone, what's the point? You're just telling them facts.
Yeah. I've had a few sort of students that have sort of said, Jason seems to book a tutorial and I seem to come out crying, you know. He just has this way of kind of looking through. And I don't think, he has this way and they like it. I don't think I like it either, but I find it very hard not to say what I feel. But it doesn't mean I've got the monopoly on the truth. I think it's hard because I sometimes forget I'm in a position of authority, which is unusual for me because I loathe authority and the whole framework because I think it's corrupt largely, and my life is. And I've been in positions of authority. I look around and go, "Oh, fucking right, it's corrupt. It's fucking awful. It's unjust." And now I'm in that position of authority. It means I rattle cages a lot, so I can rattle student cages sometimes. And not just to get a reaction, but because I really feel, but sometimes I get thrown under a bus by students. Sometimes you find the very students that you try and support are the ones that will spit the most bile back at you. And I've had to develop some sort of resilience with that, I think, because I think sometimes, and it's a youth thing, I think. It's like if your mum and dad are around, or you just your mum or whatever, it's when you stop seeing them as mum and dad and you start to see them as functioning adults with all their pitfalls, all their frailties and all their strengths. I think some students just think I'm a hologram that just sort of appears Star Trek-like in their class when they walk in, and then I just disappear and I don't have a life, or I'm not that I don't bleed, and it's just one thing I do, and it feeds me in a certain way, both literally and metaphorically. But I'm flawed, massively flawed, great crack, but massively. And seemingly together on other things. But it's that balance between, 3 of my acting teachers were raging alcoholics, and they were the best people I've ever met. 2 of them nowadays they'd never get a job anywhere else. They get sacked. They never get a job anywhere else except in the late 80s teaching drama to a load of impressionable young people. And I love them for it. For the bruises, the scars. I began to kind of understand them, and I want to learn from them. I don't want to learn from someone who's had a nice, sweet, pretty, tight life. Thanks. You ain't got anything to teach me.
Totally, yeah. It would be like trying to be taught mindfulness by someone that's been rich their entire lives and spent. It just wouldn't make sense. They have nothing to be mind. Well, I suppose but someone who hasn't struggled, it would be pointless. Someone that has that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I always hesitate with that because I think I get a lot of students going, first years particularly, going, "Oh, my life's been quite nice. My mum and dad love each other. They've been married for this long, and we've been all right." So that means I'm a shit actor. And I think, no, you can be brilliantly instinctive and do all those sort of wonderful things. You don't have to have had a chaotic background. But I'm often drawn to people that have. And I don't think you'll find many artists in any profession that haven't found life a bit tricky. And therefore see it in a certain way, and that's what they trade off. That's their stock in trade. And plus because I've got that counselling background, I counsel people, and sort of you just think, I don't know, for every student that thinks they're a bit fucked because of something that's happened to them, I just go, great, that'll heal up and scab soon, and then you can pick at it a little bit and you can call it art. But at the moment it's bleeding. But it's all right. It'll sort itself out. It'll dry up. But then sometimes I think my job is to come along and when they're not looking and pick the scab to see if it'll still bleed, because that's the work. Not solely, but sometimes. And they have to trust me, which is why with your year I struggled a little bit with Meisner, because I didn't know any of you from the first year. I'd seen you doing stuff. And actually I hate doing Meisner if I haven't had people in the first year, so they know who I am first, and then they go. So there's an element of trust, an element of familiarity before they then tackle Meisner with me. It's all fascinating. It's great stuff, isn't it? It's great stuff.
I totally felt that, yeah. When I was in Meisner lessons this year, that if we had had you the previous year, it would have felt way more relaxed. Like I don't have to prove myself because I know you. It's Jason. But when I entered, it was like, oh, fuck, it's Jason. He's a really cool Meisner teacher. What do I need to impress him? And then I started to emotionally masturbate.
Yeah, but Ali, that's exactly how I felt when I went into the Meisner class with you lot. I'm like, oh, fucking hell, I've got to hit them, I've got to impress them, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. It's the same thing, but I just think that sometimes 30 years on somebody, everyone thinks you might have got it sorted. I went into that nervous going, I'm going to walk out and lay out this method and I've got 8 weeks to do it in front of, and I'm going to ask these people who don't know me to do all sorts of things, and I have to also first get up and show them what I mean, and lay myself open to them. So I was terrified.
Wow.
I was terrified and had the same insecurities and the same desires that essentially lead us to tripping over ourselves, that we put hurdles up in front of ourselves because we feel we need to do this in order to get that. And so it's the same. It's a group of people in the room, all of whom have the same fears, all of whom, but not all of whom, looking to the same end, which is growth. Growth as humans. I'll take growth as a human. I've growth as an actor. We're just dressing up and shouting in the evenings. It's just showing off for a profession, really, done wrong. So I'll take the human experience over the acting things we learn. It's pretty shabby if we were just all learning how to pretend very well. It's got to be more than that, I think.
Totally, yeah. Even if it affects us emotionally to a certain extent, because some teachers talk about how if we really feel the emotion, or we have some sort of emotional recall, it can traumatize us because of the intensity of the scene.
Yeah, there are some. Well, it's back to the scam analogy, isn't it? There are some winds that are still flowing, and they're flowing a little too richly to be of any use. And you just have to keep checking on students, and a few slip through my hands, and they upset themselves, and more damage is needed, and it's because I've read it wrong. And it's my job to not read things wrong, but of course, human, fallible. And plus you want so much for them that you think, push through it. There's some sort of solace in falling apart, breaking down and putting out the white flag and going, I'm fucked. There's some sort of creative pearl that will be produced from that. Not always, but sometimes. And then it's a call for a lecturer or a director to work out whether the hugely rocky, damaging road and all the bruises and cuts that you'll sustain are worth the terminus, worth that end point. And sometimes I think they are, and sometimes I think that terminus can form part of the healing of looking back and going, well, that was me in all my damaged glory. But let's not forget the word glory in that. It's glorious. And sometimes that glory can heal, and there's an understanding. And that's the sort of risk you take. And I think these days, doing the job I do, that's very much the risk that I'll take. That I joke and say I can be sacked 3 or 4 times a week purely down to my approach or how I deal with a student. And you only need one throwing you under a bus for you to get sacked. So if I've had 1,000 students go through my hands under my wing in the last 5 years, there can be 995 that just go, half of which might go, yeah, Jason, he was all right. Another quarter might go, really liked it, really thought. Another quarter will kind of go, yeah, it was good. And then there's 3 that go, he was awful and he did this, and I'll never forget it. Those are the ones that get to senior management, and those are the ones I'll be dismissed on. Happy students don't go to my employees to say how happy they are.
Of course.
They don't go, Jason did something great today. They just would go, Jason did this today. And those are the ones I am brought out in front of senior management to explain. And that upsets me.
Yeah.
That's one thing I hate about the job, Ali. That the world is so based upon feedback and not upsetting people. And being kind when kindness is sometimes a wet, smothering blanket. Being accountable for every single thing you say and to not cause offence when our subject matter is the offensive, sometimes human condition. Yeah. How can I tiptoe across that? No, can't. So, if I ever got sacked, hopefully when I'm brushing my teeth in the morning, I can look at myself in the mirror and go, well, that was a good reason to get sacked. I can live with it.
Right. You wouldn't want it to be over something pointless.
No.
Yeah.
No.
You want it to be a big thing. It's interesting.
Yeah.
What we were talking about earlier. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't want it to be about a lot of students going, yeah, Jason's he's all right. Because all the feedback, I think the students forget what power they have. But, all the feedback, the modular feedback, the National Student Survey, that all goes up to our kind of superiors. And we're judged on it. But not in the class, seeing what the good things are happening. We're judged on it, and we're called to account for it. And in a way, you kind of go, yeah, I guess, because then I'd need to readdress stuff, the mistakes that I've made. But it's pretty savage. I think students think the lecturers are their sort of critics, and they're going to go out to a load of critics as well. But actually, the students are the lecturers' critics too. And there aren't many that fly the banner for you, mostly. They might, but they'll do it privately and quietly, and you know who they are, but they don't shout you from the rooftops. The ones who shout you from the rooftops are the ones that have a problem with you or your approach, or have a problem with themselves and their ability to do what it is I'm suggesting they might want to do, and then it becomes sour grapes, and rather than pointing the finger in, they point the finger out. And so sometimes I catch that. So there you go. You've whittled it out of me. That's one of the things in the job I hate.
God.
But it's not.
I hope I haven't got it.
It's not Chichester specifically. It's just the world now in which we live.
Right.
Okay. We're all, it's feedback based. It's a business. They're there taking your money. Your customers. I'm a service provider. And if somebody thinks that they've paid shitloads of money and I haven't provided a service that they wanted through whatever reason, then I can be had for it. And for me, it's just swung too far, and you've got the tail wagging the dog. Oh, there we go. See, I can't keep it in.
Yeah. The tail wagging the dog, did you say? Sorry.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Well, don't get me to explain a metaphor, right? That's just a nightmare. It's clearly not a good enough metaphor if I have to explain it.
Is it like the tail wagging the dog? So like the ones...
Oh, the dog should wag the tail.
Right.
I know more than everybody in my classes about the thing I'm there to teach or to nurture. I know more. Mm-hmm. I know more. So I'm the dog, you're the tail. I get to wag you. You don't get to wag me.
Right.
Because you don't much, I suppose. So it's putting. Another expression is the putting the cart before the horse. I'm the one that's leading it. I'm guiding it. You're all in the cart. But if you put the cart in front of me, we won't get very far because you just haven't lived long enough to be able to take it. And I have, and it's my job. And one day, we all have our own little horses and carts, but I've got 15 people in every class in my cart, and I have to lead it. And that's my job, and I should do it well. But yeah, that's tail wagging the dog, cart before the horse. Yeah, sometimes I just think, sometimes I think too much is put in. You know what I mean? I don't need to go on. I will get myself into trouble.
Yeah, I get you. The students' feedback is quite often unfair because they feel like they've been emotionally hurt. And
not just that, but also the class as well as they engage and stuff. Yeah.
Let's not.
And also the pressure of sort of senior management to do a good job and to be seen to be doing a good job for the uni. It doesn't matter whether it's Chichester. It's not a comment that I can make solely on Chichester because I haven't worked anywhere else in this capacity. So I just think that it's gone the other way. But I think the minute you start charging people money, then I am tasked corporate bollocks. I'm tasked with I'm a provider of content. And it's the same thing as if I ran a restaurant and you came in and I was charging you quite a lot of money for what I think to be good food. You have you've got TripAdvisor to slam me on and go, it was cold, it was shit, it took too long, and he was rude. And I'd have to go, oh, sorry, here, have a free meal, have a... Whereas sometimes I just think, I think it was a good meal. Yeah. And it was reasonable. And if you didn't like it, maybe that says as much about what sort of restaurant you like and should you be eating that kind of food. But that can sound quite elitist because I think so often, and I can get into trouble with this, but I think students, the student voice, sometimes I can be accused of being a bit too student-led and rallying that voice because I think a lot of the things they say and their issues with this, that and the other are wholly supportable, and I agree with them. But sometimes I don't.
Yes, yeah, I can imagine.
Sometimes they're wrong, but I can't tell them they're wrong, and neither can I kind of give them a piece of my mind. I just have to be really balanced and just and grown up, and just go, I see, well, I'll take that on board. And what I'm trying to try and do is come at it from a different way. So if the customer's always right, believe me, they're not. And if you pay for your education, as you do, then I understand why there's a monetization of the art, and that's no good.
No, not at all. People start focusing on the money.
Yeah. And what they should get for it, they're quite right. So the boot is on the wrong foot sometimes. Can't afford the horse, boot on the wrong foot. tail wagging the dog, and that can get me a little bit. So I've sometimes had to change my feedback because someone might think it's too, you can't say that. Or I've been accused that my feedback's too personal, not personal offensive, but just too, you and I know each other a little bit. I might put 2 or 3 sentences in the past about what I know about you in the conversations we've had that nobody else will know about, but I'm not revealing any of the secret conversations or the confidentiality here, but I'll know you, and my job is to know you, and your job is to know me. So if I can find a sentence that you and I have spoken about at some point, and I think it kind of supports my point on what you've just done in a performance assessment, then I'll say it because it's a tool that I can go, do you know what I mean? Do you know it's that conversation, it's that's what was missing here, but also balanced with, but I tell you what, you nailed that, and that's brilliant given the conversation we had just last semester about, but I can't put that. I just have to put the bloody assessment criteria in and put you up against that and go, you have provided a convincing portrayal, both emotionally, psychologically, blah, 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 specific for genre. Now, what is fucking bollocks? What's that about? It's bollocks. Absolute bollocks. If I can say something to talk and communicate with, then I'll use that language, but I can't.
Oh, there's such a huge difference between that and the assessment criteria. It would be like going into a therapy session. They're like, oh, look at this little checklist. Tick through it. It's kind of what art is. And to be able to
it's like a tick box. Everybody that leaves any class with me has to tick this. Were you emotionally this? Were you that? Were you, were you professional in your approach, and were you collegiate with other people? And were you you tick a box, and we all go, oh, very nice, all market research. Thank you very much. Everybody in Joseph's class, tick those boxes. Thanks very much. Obviously, he's a great lecturer, and I would say, no, obviously, he's a fucking dullard that is just form filling. And being just making sure all the corners and all the seams are neatly tacked in and there's no loose threads. Nobody will learn. No significant learning without significant relationships.
Wow, 100%. Yeah, synergy is so important in any work.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And we all have to be willing to fall out. Sometimes the students I get on best with are the ones I battled, and they battled me. So yeah. And also there's the personal thing about, I have to, there's a good few students that I just think are absolutely brilliant, and there's so many, the vast majority, I think, what lovely people, I can see the best in them. But over 5 years, there's always going to be a handful that you just go, you're a fucking nightmare. And just think, I'm human. We just don't get on. We wouldn't get on. If you were 50, we wouldn't get on. We could be working in an insurance company and we wouldn't get on. We just wouldn't get on. And that's hard, I think. That's often hard because I can't, I have to and do make sure that I attend to them in the similar way that I attend to people that I might get on with. And then you can't, but you can't, you can't do this and you can't do that because that would be unfair. And I go, well, wait to see what the world has in store for you. You'll probably have a favourite parent. You love them both. You might have a favourite parent. I know I did. I loved them both, but I knew which one I liked more. And still now, So, and then people will say, oh, Jason might have his favourites. And I'll go, well, who do you think they are? Fairly nice, open, decent, diligent. You don't have to be hugely able for me to kind of really like you. That for me is just it's a bonus. If you're really brilliant at something and I like you, then fantastic. And there's been a few students that I could mention, but I won't name, but you just go past and present, but you just go, you're bloody brilliant. Actually, you're absolutely brilliant human being, a cracking actress, lovely to be around, and it's been a privilege to have anything to do with you at all. And that's lovely when that happens, but that doesn't always happen. Often a lot of very, very, very able in terms of acting students, I'm less kind of close to. It doesn't mean I like them, I'm just less close to. I just haven't developed a relationship with. So for me, you show up on time, you do the work, you stand up, you listen, you engage, you teach me. Then help me teach you, then I'll take that every day over someone I don't much like who's brilliant.
Right.
Or someone I do like a lot, but actually they can't be asked and their attitude stinks. No, I'll take the ones that aren't quite where they need to be, but they're just cracking human beings. You can't get away from it. It's like good in the van, If you're going to tour with these people, are they good in the van? And in castings for the new first year, that I'm doing at the moment today, normally I'd be face to face, and there's three scores. One is the truth that they bring to the performance that they initially bring, then their ability to be able to take a note and change it. And the third one is what I call the good in the van score. Would I want to tour with them for 3 months to small venues and live and breathe with them? Because that's what you do as an actor. So it's essentially, do I want to spend 3 years on a course with you in front of me? And often the answer is no. And you can be brilliant and take all my notes, but if you can't make that, I wouldn't put an offer out. I wouldn't offer you, because I just went, no, I don't want you in my class much. It's got to be about that a little bit. You know?
Of course, yeah. How important do you think that is in castings or auditions?
Massive. If you haven't got that good in the van score, then you need to be astoundingly brilliant actor. And I've worked with them. Really, pretty shameful human beings, but just so good at acting.
Yeah.
And but you need to be up there in order to work with them. Shocking human beings, great actors. Yeah, I just wouldn't choose to, if I could, work with someone who was brilliant. It was a shocking human being.
You wouldn't, if they were.
No,
yeah.
But I never had the choice. I just had to work with them, and you just get on with it and do it. But you just go only because they were so good at what they did and had a name or had a CV, and they were in stuff. But nobody liked them. Nobody wanted to be anywhere near them. They were toxic, but they were stars.
I wonder if they used that toxicity inside, like Van Gogh.
Yeah, good point. Maybe that's what made them watchable. Maybe that was their energy. So kryptonite as a human being, but pure gold for an actor. So yeah,
that's
so for me it's massively important. Yeah.
Sorry, what
again? It's back to that. It's significant relationships. Significant relationship makes significant learning a whole lot easier and more fun. But you can get significant learning off someone without having a significant relationship. But if I had to choose, I'd go the other way.
Yeah, definitely. It's the thing that makes us unique, I think, as human beings, that we can properly connect with big circles and use another unique thing as a human being to get creative in circles. And it's not nice to disconnect that and just be creative, I think. Personally.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't want to see myself reflected anywhere. I don't want to meet more people like me. My friends are those probably people. I like people that kind of challenge me a little bit. My sort of best. Yeah, we've all got a few friends really, but a handful of close ones. And I can't honestly say that my close friends are very much like me. And that's great. I think that's absolutely great. None of them could do what I do, and I couldn't do what they do. And we might agree on lots of things, but we have a different kind of approach. I'm drawn to people that aren't like me. You won't learn much from meeting your own reflection.
That's so true. Yeah, of course.
You just don't learn very much, And the relationships we choose, and I think perhaps a little bit about that. Who you choose to be with says ever such a lot about you. Whether that person is an aspirational person, or whether that person, whatever it is, maybe that person is really, really good for us, or maybe that person is actually the knife in our back that we're trying to remove. It's who we're pulled to. So there's a lot about us. So actually, I think we could all say, well, I'm saying it, that my enemies, and I have a few, probably say as much about me as my friends. They might be right about me. So yeah, who doesn't like me says as much about me as who likes me, I think. Right. Because I don't know about you, there's some people I have a real sort of allergic reaction to, but I think that allergic, impulsive recoil and hackle-raising reaction is probably because in some way I recognise something in them that I know lies within me.
Yes, yeah, I know that one all too well.
I don't think they're making a very good job at hiding it, and I think I do, and so it unmasks me.
Really, I actually, when I think of the name Jason Pitt, I think of it. It's so rare nowadays to have this mask that we've had put on us as we're growing up, to just be removed. And you seem, from what I see, I don't know, you might have an incredibly good mask, but you just seem to have a very flexible mask. You seem to be so open and honest with being you as a person. Yeah,
maybe I understand why you'd say that, but then Thanks, I think. Yeah.
No, yeah, it was a
Sometimes it's
compliment.
distracting, sometimes it's my Achilles heel because everybody will know a way in to get to me because I am kind of that open. But what I think, Ali, is I can't ask a class of students in front of me to do things or to be in a certain way that I'm not prepared to be myself. I can't do it. It would be hypocritical. It would be phony of me. But my son works as a kind of camera operator at uni, but he doesn't work in my classes, so we both sort of arrange that to happen. But occasionally he has these kind of covered, and he will say, "Yeah, my dad isn't like this at home." But to a certain extent, because I've got all that 5 years training and crewing for 2 years and then acting for 25 years, in a way, I see every class like a gig. I have to sell something. I have to get something across in a small sort of window of time, and I have to be just about the most sort of interesting thing in the room. Otherwise, I'll lose that. Oh, I think someone's coming to knock on the door.
Oh, wonderful, nice. We've got a crescendo of dog barks.
Crescendo. I'll come back to you.
All right, that's cool. No worries. Oh man, what a fascinating lecturer, really. Like I said a minute ago, when I think of the word Jason Pitt, I just think of this really strong character that's just so true and honest with his emotions. He's so out there. All of the lessons just fucking fantastic. Always. Going into the lesson, you just feel a metaphor that he used himself, like someone's just put their fingers in between the shells of armor that we wear emotionally and just rip it apart. And that's what his lessons would often do. Just really self-reflective and reflective of the room, and therefore not self-reflective in a way. Teaches us about ourselves. I've just been rambling on about Meisner lessons.
Yeah. Ali, back to that mask, and we've all got those masks.
Yes.
And so I have to get to the one that says the most about me that's truest, and then I leave that one on. That's the idea. The other sort of harder thing about the work is the amount of positivity and the amount of honesty and truth and this, that, and the other that you have to do is exhausting. It's exhausting. Yeah, it's Oscar Wilde, and I think I mentioned it in Meisner, saying, to be natural is such a difficult pose to keep up. So there's never no mask.
Right.
There's never no mask. But there are thinner ones, and ones that follow the contours of your face a little more,
Right.
But yeah, I can't ask people to do things that I'm not prepared to do. I can't, I don't think. My dog going mad. Just gonna shut up. No. Shush. No. Masterful.
Wonderful. Wow, that's interesting about not having a mask, because I do this thing where I'll be talking to someone and I'll like look at them and be like, shit, I'm being dishonest. What do I do? No mask. And then I just end up staring at them like some sort of maniac.
Yeah. And also, I think, having more than twice people's age, I'm more than double the age of the people that sort of watch or listen or that we engage with. It gets easier. I've done not much else. So I kind of know what I'm talking about inside out. It doesn't make it truthful, but what it means is I've formulated my own ideas. And I never prep a class. I never prepare a class. I never know what I'm going to say when I walk in, because I hate framework and I hate structure, because I find it constricting. But I know people, just one way. It's just kind of my way. I've realised that I'm better without notes and I'm better without sort of a massive amount of prep. So yeah. I just love it. I like people. I like young people.
Yeah.
Like it.
Full of
I like it. Yeah. I know it inside out, so I can bang on about it, as you know, to your cost. I can talk about it all day. So it's the only thing. We're good at two things in life, maybe, if we're really lucky. Maybe we're good at five, but we're really, really rather good at two things. I'm really rather awful at 100. And you only motorbike going past. And so you don't see me talk about the 95 things I don't know anything about. Or I'm not good at talking about one thing.
Yeah, we got to keep it to the 5%. Or
yeah.
I think what I want to be good at is communication and performance, like a full understanding of just what it is to be a human, like just everything that makes a human, to be able to just look at someone and be like, that's what they're thinking, feeling. Like I've got this book, it's on Darren's recommended list, What Everybody Is Saying, about body language.
Yeah.
I want to figure it out.
It struck me when I first sort of met you, Ali, that you were on a quest for knowledge, understanding, and peace, internal peace. Knowledge and wisdom and peace, internal peace. And that's a cracking. Well, that's other things, but that was always one that I just went. And you're intelligent, which isn't always helpful. It's not supposed to be that clever. So you're questioning, and you're reflective, and you're positive, and you're open, but you're tormented, but you're inquisitive, and you want to gain information and knowledge about the world and yourself, and about why you do what you do, and why other people do what they do, and how they go about doing that. And so what it is a quest. It's as old as the hills, isn't it? It's a quest for knowledge. It's a quest for understanding. It's just a quest for understanding and knowledge. And at the moment, the seam in the pit that you are mining is marked drama. And you'll get some stuff from it, but you'll get some stuff from, you'll mine other seams of coal, and, you'll pan for gold, metaphorically, in other areas. But for me, that's just the best place to start anything. Question. What are you for?
Yeah.
What are you for?
I question it.
What are you going to be? What are you for? And what sort of father are you going to be if you don't have any of those answers? What sort of father are you going to be if you're going to set your sons or daughters on a journey that you haven't trod? How good are you going to be at anything if you haven't suffered the sweet and the sour? That's your job, mate.
Yeah.
It's your fucking job.
100%.
Forget acting. It's just everybody's job. Otherwise, just go and live in some suburban outlying kind of district and just go to work at 9 and know the car you're going to have and the personal contract plan and the account, and just do that and fuck off and die somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
Slowly.
That sounds fun. Yeah.
Good luck to them. We win wars with people like that. People who do what they're told.
Yeah.
Great. We need them. They're very, very welcome. Great, good. Not me. No, I die in a bath of my own fucking rust. Not for me, no. No, not for you.
Definitely not. No. It's interesting that I feel like those sorts of people that maybe they're not able to take control of the structure of their life, and they may be the people that fall in line of Charles Manson or Hitler, because it's easy. The structure is built up. We just step in and do it. I don't know. Maybe I'm speaking out of turn.
Well, no, I think that can happen. But I think the majority of people like that just live perfectly simple, quite happy lives. Thanks very much. They live and they die, and they've got kids in the world, and it's all very good. And they don't commit a wrong, and they don't sin, and nothing. They don't cost the world very much at all, and they live and they largely live a life of very little consequence, except for those that love them, and the world won't blink.
Yes.
And then they're dead. And then we move on. And I just figure you're a long time dead. And if you it's great. All this, it's biblical. The meek will inherit the earth. Well, good luck to them. They deserve it. Fucking meek. There's no room for meek. But God finds the place for them. And he also suffers the little children as well, although you wouldn't think so if you have a look at the children around the world. But nonetheless, I'll get onto my sort of religious rant then. Great. Go and live your life nice and quietly, where nothing really counts and nothing really matters, and you really don't notice things, and you paddle about and think, oh, it's quite nice. My life's quite nice. I'm sure it is. That's great. Really, really good. Good. I can't do it. I can't do that. Yeah. And I'll meet friends. I'll go to sort of, particularly as a parent, and people will meet me that aren't actors, but I haven't. They meet me in my 30s and I have kids, and you're thrown together with these people just because your kids are at school. And they'll go, Jason's really kind of mad, isn't he? He's really kind of out there, and he'll just say what he wants. I've never met anyone. He's just kind of crazy. He's a bit mad, isn't he? I'm like, no, you're fucking dull. That's what it is. I'm not mad. You are just living a flat, shallow existence. Perfectly known. You're a perfectly nice person. Absolutely lovely. But what I'm not is kind of mad. Oh, well, he's an actor, so he's bound to be a bit. Bound to be a bit what?
Yeah.
Just I'm alive is what I am.
Yes. 100%. Yeah.
I'm living. And I'm going to die, and I'm going to be dead for ages. And so, why aren't you worried about this? What's up with you? How can you do this every day? And yeah. And so you find your tribe and you just think, oh, I can't fit there.
You can't fit in the tribe.
I can't fit in that tribe, no.
No, neither.
But I've got no problem with them. I've got no problem with them. Perfectly, really nice, lovely people to spend some time with. Until you go, I don't know, what do you feel about that? Oh, I don't really know about it. I've not really thought about it. Why, how old are you? Well, 42. You've not thought about that? Yeah. No, I've not thought about it that way. Fucking hell, how? How have you managed not to do that? I met somebody that was a mate of mine at drama school called Jason, actually. Little Jason, I used to call him because he was smaller than me. And he left and went and joined the Navy because he wanted to be a helicopter pilot. I wanted to be a helicopter pilot. But I became political and thought, I'm not joining the military and dropping bombs on people with a different colour skin than me. I'm not doing that. So I fucked off and didn't do that. He went and then he married an army captain, this lady who was ever so nice. And then she was coming out of the army and she was going to join the police. And we went out for a meal. I haven't got a problem with the police. I just wouldn't be one, but I haven't got a problem with them. We need them. And she went, I think I'm going to join the police. And I was sort of questioning as to motives and why. And, what have you thought on, the sort of social worker side of it and the Bobby on the beat side of it? She would not thought of it like that. She just kept going, well, I've not thought about it like that. And how to be a government servant and essentially to uphold the law that you didn't make. And, from the army, go and fight a war that you didn't choose with people you didn't choose for reasons you don't really understand, just because somebody with a suit on says you should. Oh, I never really thought of it like that. What, you were willing to kill people? I know, but we're here to protect other people. I never really thought of it. Wow. And perhaps we need people who don't think about it to fight the wars and to keep the laws. Because if you thought about it, you wouldn't do it. She's a perfectly lovely lady. Really lovely. Yeah. Really lovely. Crack mum, all the rest of it, without thought.
Yeah.
I find it terrifying now.
It is so terrifying. It's hard to sometimes have a discussion with people nowadays without them feeling like you're some political warrior out to get them. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
What if you stepped out of the box and you went a bit mad, like Jim Carrey? Man, there's so much to do. We're so precious as human beings. Yeah.
But then don't forget, there'll be the people that might go to see a film you're in or watch some performance you do and be really moved by it. They can be your audience. And sometimes art is there to reflect and to instigate a reaction out of people that maybe don't often have those reactions. That's part of our gift, I think, as actors, is that, you shake people and wake them up or move them or, politicize them. And I think if you look into history, and I maybe said this in Meisner as well, I'm just on a big loop, really, Ali, to be honest with you. I've run out, eventually I run out of things to say. But, with all dictatorships or sort of tyrannical kind of regimes, who do they kill first? Outside of, gypsies, Jews, homosexuals, and, in terms of the German thing. They kill the intellectuals. They kill, after a while, the Germans just killed people in glasses, because if you had glasses, it suggested you could read, and so you were dangerous. But university lecturers, artists, actors, they went first.
Oh, they went first. That's scary.
Which place you can do, which place you can't, which picture you can hang, which music you can listen to, and which you absolutely can't. We're dangerous. And, it is that at one point you had to bury actors in a crossroads in a full moon because we didn't know which way that they would go. They were possessed in some way. So you get rid of the intellectuals and get rid of the artists. First.
God damn. So our job is to make more of them.
Yeah. Have to. And reflect them. Reflect the society. Reflect it. Yeah, absolutely. Have to. So I used to think acting was a pointless thing, just self-possessed, but now I go, no, it's a tool, it's a sword. And satire is about that. Comedy, satire is about that. That you prick the bubble of the people in power constantly prick the bubble, constantly unmask them, constantly point the finger at them, because they're massively powerful. And usually in this country, they're white and privately educated. So it's, you kind of man the barricades and go, no, we'll hold you to account because we voted you in. And you have to. And that's what artists are for. And it took me a long time, only in the last 6 or 7 years did I start seeing the point of that. Yeah, because so much of it is vanity and likes and Instagram and Twitter and reviews. And, so much of it is about that. And actually it's the least important thing.
Really? What do you think it is?
It's about the ripple that you create. It's not about. So I understand the likes. How many people are you getting out to? But again, if the focus is on you, you're wrong. It's a Meisner thing. If the focus is on you, you're wrong. You're missing stuff. So if the focus is on your feed, your Twitter, and your this, that, and the other, and what people think, and constantly putting out stuff so people will comment back on it, you just kind of go. The focus is on, can sometimes be on you, and the focus needs to be out for an artist.
100%. You always want to be throwing pebbles out.
Yeah. What bloody pages? Put a big stone in. Watch where the ripples go. Do it.
Yeah.
Wrap things. You need to be at it. You need to be a bit of an anarchist. You need to go fuck them. You need to just go no. You need to worry. You need to be a rumor. Somebody said to me years ago, who was famous, and I wasn't at the stage, but that we were in the West End doing a play, and he envied me because he said, "What you are, Jason, is you're a rumor. In the business, you're a rumor. On this stage, you're a rumor. People come in and go, oh, because it was quite a good play. I was all right in it, and they say you're a rumor, whereas they're already established." And they envied me. They envied me my position because I wasn't known. I was green, but I was a rumor. I was a rumble, and they were that once, but now they were out there, and they thought that to be a rumor was better than to be famous.
God, see,
and I agree. Yeah, be that rumor, be that underground, be that undercurrent. The minute you hit mainstream, you're fucked.
Right. Yeah, because you're part of the system.
Yeah. I did a 3-year drama thing for BBC Scotland, 3 years, twice a week in people's living rooms. And the minute I did that, I was interviewed, and it was celebrity Jason Pitt joins us on the line. I'm a fucking actor, mate. But then you look a bit pretentious, and then people sort of go in, because I played a chef. How long have you been able to cook? Why do you think I can cook? Well, you play a chef. I'm an actor. All right, so you're not very good at cooking. No, I'm not. No. What the fuck are you on about, man? It's just, I became part of the BBC. And people wanted to know me, and people tried to buy me drinks, and women started putting their mobile phone numbers in my back pockets, and journalists tried to sting me by suggesting would I like a line of cocaine in whatever club I was in so they could write the story. So it was kiss and tell, and it was savage. I got a doorstep. It was awful. And that's success, Ali. That means when you're out and about. I sold my car, so I bought a motorbike. I got a full motorbike license, so I could put a helmet on in Glasgow in Scotland, so nobody would recognise me. So I'd walk my kids around and my wife, and people would. If I left my kids somewhere with my wife outside a shop or whatever, there were people taking photos of them. That's Z-list celebrity we're talking about. And then it's what you like having your dad on telly, but this was only going out in Scotland, and you're just like, that's just crazy. It's just crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And so already then you're everybody wants a piece of you. Everybody wants to be your friend. You're no longer a roomie. You're there. Now what? Now I'm earning, 15 years ago, 55 grand a year for 3 years. You're like, oh, this is reaping the rewards, but it doesn't feel like it. This feels like a compromise. And nobody's calling me an actor. I had my motorbike nicked once outside of Pizza Hut in independent pizza place in South Glasgow. And I went in, put my bike outside, and this old woman came out and said, someone's nicking your bike, love. And I was like, oh shit. So I went out and saw these lads running off moving their bike, and I sort of caught them up and thought, oh, here we go. And I sort of took my helmet off thinking, well, I could use that to hit them with. That might be quite useful. And then they recognised me from being off the telly. I've been in this thing for a couple of years, and then everything changed. No way, you're that guy who's on the no way, guys, no, don't it. And brought the bike back, brushed it down, we all took selfies, or they took selfies of me, going, we'd have never nicked it if we'd known it was yours. Cormac, which is the character that I played. We're so sorry. Oh, wait till I told my friends who tried to nick Cormac's bike. Mate, so sorry. That's the picture. Oh, dusted it down, shook me by the hand, gave me a hug, off I went. Oh, Z-list celebrity because I was on the telly.
Yeah, you're more valuable.
Why would you not have nicked it? Because you wanted the motorbike, you saw it. It's nice, isn't it? I went, yeah, it's nice. You wouldn't have nicked it because I'm on the telly. Yeah, no way, wouldn't have done that to you because we like you in that show. Oh, man. And you're a bit handy in that show as well, so we don't want to mess you around, although there is 4 of us, so we will probably get you, but we don't want to do that. Like, wow.
Yeah.
And that's a Z-list celebrity. I don't consider it. I was just like Puddle Beat celebrity. Imagine. to be nationally famous, because I'd drive over the border and no one would recognise me. But north of the border, people were saying, "Talk to my mum, she loves you. Here's a phone, please say something to her." South of the border, nobody knows you. And I just thought that was quite. I don't think I want to do this anymore. Imagine what it's like to be internationally famous.
Oh, man, it's such a sacrifice, because that's what I want.
Yeah.
I want to be so big. Like I've read Elon Musk's biography, and there was a point where I go a bit crazy when I read biographies of people. I start to think like I can do that, which I don't know if it's so healthy. But to be able to just sacrifice and go, fuck it, I'm not going to be able to walk out on the street ever again, but I have changed the world. I've sent a nuke out there. It's not just a pebble. It's
it's massive. And then walking about London or wherever, or being wherever you are with famous people, if you're in a play with somebody, you're in a telegram, and you see how they have to live their life. And they all say, look, the fortune that they own, they do the work for free. They take the money for the sort of life they have to live. And that's absolutely, I see that. Absolutely. I used to hope it would rain so I could put an umbrella up and put my coat collar up so I could walk through Glasgow without being recognised. It's not a bad thing to complain about, is it, really? I mean, there's people dying, but nah, not for me. Not for me. I don't think there's anything suspect about just wanting to be famous and just wanting to be everybody to. Fine, go for it, but it's not for everybody. It'll fuck people up. It can fuck people up, and also I think fame magnifies probably everything that's good about you, and it magnifies everything that's bad about you. So you can become an animal.
Right. Yeah. Of course. It's like the Johnny Depp situation. You make one mistake, and even if it isn't true. It might be true.
And look at Britney Spears now, still not able to have any say in all the fortune she owns or where her kids go to school. And Britney needs her own. It's just fucking tragic. It's tragic. You see people just disappear into a hell. Yeah. So you've got to be kind of really careful about it, I think. And fame is such a kind of fickle mistress anyway. You're not in control of it. You'll be close to the town one minute and nobody the next. And you better not forget how to be a human. Because that's what we'll end up being, So there's so many pitfalls to it. But still love it. It just wasn't for me. I was just that. I used to dodge phone calls. I remember sitting with someone in Soho and going, "That was your agent ringing about a job, and you're the only actor I know that would put your agent to voicemail." And I thought, yeah, probably not. Yeah, why am I doing that? Because I don't want to know about that. I'm just having a conversation. And going up for Coronation Street and getting a recall as a regular just after I came out of this other show, and then getting screen tested, knowing that I was down to like 3 people for a regular in it. And my agent rang and said, "I'm sorry, it hasn't worked out." And I was, I called it disappointed relief. I was like, "What? I didn't get it, but I was dead good." And then I was relieved, because I don't want to be in Coronation Street. I don't want to be a face. I don't want interviews in various papers. I don't want to be paparazzi. I don't want to be snapped. I don't want my kids to have a famous dad. I don't want any of that shit. And I don't like Coronation Street apart from anything else. It's not why I went to drama school, so I could be on Coronation Street. I don't want to do it. And actually, interesting, you said you love physical theatre. For me, my medium was theatre. I liked it way more than telly. And physical theatre, I absolutely adored. And improvising, I absolutely adored. But it's not what I've gone on to do at Chichester.
Of course.
It's a second the film, acting for film. I'd rather be teaching on a theatre course, to be honest with you.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I know more about it.
Okay, that's fascinating.
You can do anything. You can do anything in theatre. I love theatre. And I love acting for camera as well. I love acting, but if I had a choice, if there was a senior lecturership going on a theatre course, even at Chichester, I'd leave and go to it.
You would go to it straight away?
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's so much
It's a play area. You can do anything. Yeah, I would. Which is why I miss teaching on NCP, because I teach theatre on that. And I do a theatre module. In fact, next semester with you, we'll do a theatre module. And I enjoy voiceover, but I'm at my happiest. I know most about theatre.
Okay. Wow. Do you think? Wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool. It fits your character. You're full of expression and energy and bigness.
Yeah. Yeah, I find acting for camera myself harder, because it's so close that you better be absolutely in it, and you better be so subtle. And I find it really hard as an actor to do it, to be still, and to be giving everything I ask of you and your the cohort. I think is really hard. So for me, it's really hard. But I know what you need to do in order to be good at it. But I don't think I ever cracked it, to be honest.
Really?
No, I didn't.
Wow.
But yeah. As long as I know how, I'll be all right.
I thought you were brilliant when you were doing the Meisner scripts and you were sat across and you're playing this like crazy manipulative guy, and it's like, fuck, that is not Jason there, or whatever.
No, but it is, mate. It's absolutely, it's the darker side of me. I'm capable of all those things. I just don't act upon those impulses. It's what makes us. It's why I'm not in prison doing a sentence. I don't act upon them.
Totally, that's fascinating.
I might have said to you that if the thought police were active, we'd all be on death row.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
If we were held to account for everything we thought or wished for or wanted to do, then we're fucked. If we act upon them, the difference between sort of, I don't know, maybe even sanity and insanity, but certainly criminal and non-criminal is we choose not to act on them. But there's a lot of violence in me. There's a lot of, there is. There's a lot of bile and there's a lot of anger, but there's a lot of joy and love and hope and care and, so it's a balance. It's a balance. Yeah. But as an actor, you need to have your finger over any of those buttons and to be able to find it really quick.
Right. It creates an all-rounded brilliant actor to be able to just access.
Yeah. We're capable of horrendous things. History will, all of us, you, me, everybody you know, capable of horrendous things given the right set of circumstances. Yeah. You know, you look at Vietnam, the average age was 19, and what some of the students, some of the officers did. And World War II, they say the first casualty of war is innocence. But once, and I've read so many accounts because I was kind of obsessed by it after a while, what the potential of what humans could do for the negative. At your age, really, I was thinking that. And the students just go, I was just this guy from Idaho, I was just a farmer, and he killed someone, and I was just like, oh my God, I've shot him. And then just like, it gets easy. It gets easier and easier and easier. And after a while, it's nothing. It's nothing. And seeing someone who's badly treated, seeing a woman where it's awful, and then it isn't so awful, and then it's just a little less awful, and it's a little less awful. And what fucked them up was not living in that world, but actually coming back to a world where that wasn't permitted, coming back to everyday life, and not being in charge of a tank with 6 missiles in it, or not having 4 clips on your belt where you can shoot pretty much anybody you like, thanks, if they're coming at you. No, not having any of that power, not being in charge of a group of men. No, you're just loading shelves in a factory. Right. Then that's when the demons come. That's where the post-traumatic stress comes from. But when you're doing it, it's easy.
Yeah.
And I think that's fascinating. Chilling, but fascinating.
It is. I'd love to play a character like that at some point.
It's
so horrific.
Yeah.
When you're in that, it's like adrenaline pumping. I don't know if it's just adrenaline, but yeah, like you said, it becomes the norm. And then when they're back in the real world, it's vulnerable. You're real people.
Exactly. We're so adaptable. We'll get used to anything. We would get used to anything. And it's only when that thing stops that we realize how damaged we have been by it. Yeah. Jesus. It's great, isn't it? Yeah. It's just that's our job. That's what people are training to do. That's what I've and that's what I think people should be training to do. It's opening all that kind of that big wide-eyed world of wonder through, and I think I said it in the Meisner thing, from the deep, dark, cold, black bile of our potential to all the way through the mediocre, right the way through to the I'm in love and my heart is singing. The empathy. There's this girl, in our case, perhaps, just will take your heart away and everything in her life, and isn't it brilliant? And love and friendship and companionship and the joys of the modern world and whoever created this thing and the wonders of it, all the way up to that. And that's our palette. And hopefully we're looking for a canvas on which to throw it. That's the job. I think.
It's such a beautiful job.
It's great.
Once again, you've made me so proud to be having the job of an actor.
You're proud of artists. And the hardest thing sometimes for me is sitting in front of there'll be 6 students in a room of 12 and 6 of them are just on their phones or going, and you're like, oh, come on then. But then I berate myself for not being able to get it across to them. But I don't know, half of me just thinks you shouldn't be here. You shouldn't be here. And then I might look at, really my job for auditions that uni don't allow me is how to keep people out, not get them in. It's not about finding the ones that are good. It's about finding the ones that absolutely shouldn't be here, that will dilute,
Yeah.
you know. And that's why I don't make the decisions on the auditions. They just want my feedback, and then somebody in a suit with a calculator makes the decisions, makes the offers. But for me, it's about keeping people out. It's about diluting that potential of everything we've spoken about over the last hour and a half. It's about getting those people in a room. I don't care whether you can do it or not. I just want you. I just want you. I want you. I want your potential, because you will extend my own potential if I get those people. But the one thing is, what you can get if you get a sprawling kind of course is you'll get a brain drain. You'll get the lecturers will leave if they've got somewhere else to go, because you're faced with so much bland mediocrity that it stifles your own. It just puts your own flame out. And so sometimes I can walk away from the class with my flame nearly extinguished, and then I'll become shit. I'll become crap at the job, and then you just, I need to leave before that happens. But it's hard to turn you back on an annual salary, particularly when I've got nowhere else to go.
Yeah, of course.
But then I'm not. Yeah, but that's what I worry for, that I'll just get overworked and kind of undervalued and smothered creatively from a student body and a senior management body and other lecturers who just essentially clock in, clock off.
Right.
And that happens in all institutions.
Yeah.
And I can't be part of that.
No, those are the teachers that I mentioned earlier that enrage me, that make me feel like, why am I here? I'm not inspired.
But also the students next to you that will enrage you for the same reason.
Really?
Well, I just think from some of the students I know that really want what they feel that can be offered to them, by the third year, always third years, there are students that are kind of capable. They're all sort of varying degrees of capable in terms of ability to do what it is they're trying to do. But their biggest bugbear is being with their cohorts in a class that can't be asked, or don't show up, or really just don't give anything, but stay on the course anyway because mum wants them to have a degree in a Mickey Mouse subject. That's the biggest bugbear of some of the students such as yourself that reflect, the ones that really are keen and want to go on a journey. 6 people next to you who don't even know where that journey is and think you're a bit odd wanting to go on it. Those are the people that, they just stifle.
Yeah, totally. They're putting out their own flame that could be there. Yeah.
Yeah, my job is to find their wick and get a bloody match under it.
Yeah.
But sometimes they don't, I can't find it. And that's my job. And if I don't succeed with that, that's down to me. But a little bit down to them.
What was that? Sorry, that last bit?
Well, it's kind of down to me, but it's a little bit down to them as well.
Oh.
Like, I get some students who go, Jason, I find you're quite interesting to watch. I've got no idea what you're talking about, but you're quite watchable. And I'll go, why don't you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Why don't you? You must have a slight inkling. No, I don't know what you're talking about. And then I'll see him in an assessment doing something, whether I teach him or not. And then I look at that kind of flat line and I go, no, that's right. You don't know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
You don't know what I'm talking about. And it's reflected in your performances. And then I have to feed back on some sort of assessment criteria. And then they might go, oh, it's not fair. I don't know, Jason. And then they want his second mark. Okay, yeah. I don't believe he's given me the chance. Okay. So sometimes I'm pulled up and held to account for the most mediocre reasons by the most mediocre people.
God, that's painful. Acting is one of the jobs where you really need to understand before you make other people understand what you're trying to say. And if they're not understanding what you're teaching them.
Yeah, so I'll say some of this in the open day and I'll literally say, and Alison kills me because I say, don't come. If you don't follow people around in supermarkets, don't come if you're wondering and thinking about stuff. Don't come if you're not interested in yourself and other people. Don't come unless you're a curtain twitcher, that you're nosy and you're curious. Don't come unless you're moved to tears or moved to by some sort of either theatre or film. Don't come because you had a crush on your drama teacher when you were 14 and you weren't good at anything else and you just thought, oh, well, acting is what I want to do. Or don't come if you just want to be famous because you want the glory. Don't come because you just want a degree and dad thinks you ought to go out and spread your wings and learn how to be an adult. Don't come. Please don't come. And I'll say it. And Alison's going, no. And I go, I've got to fish them out. I've got to weed them out. I will ask for shitloads off you, and you should ask for shitloads off me. Don't come if you can't put your hand up to if you can put your hand up to some of those.
Yeah.
Don't come. You've got to burn to do it. Don't come unless you burn. Don't come if you're thinking maybe biology in Edinburgh might be the way. Go and do biology in Edinburgh.
Right.
Please go and do it. Great. Go and do it. You'll be really useful. Don't come. Please don't come.
Yeah.
You know?
It helps you.
And that way, yeah. Well, that way you see the people that just go, yeah, I feel like that. You can see some students going, oh, that's me. And the parents looking at them with their eyebrows raised going, that's you, isn't it? And you see some students, maybe 3 or 4 in every 40 that you have in an open day, sitting listening to me banging on about why they shouldn't come, who are just like, you get a couple that are moved to tears, or the parents are, particularly the mothers or the fathers, come over and go, I just wanted to say thank you. I found that really inspirational, really moving. And so I think, good, your daughter should come. Right. You know, if you're affected by what I'm saying, come. If you're not, you don't know what I'm on about, don't come.
Yeah.
But I don't have the power. If I ran a school myself, then that's literally what I say. Well, it is what I say, and I can get away with it a little bit. But yeah. Anyway, yeah. Have you got anything else you want to ask, Ali? I've realised I've banged on. How are you going to cut this together, mate?
Oh, I don't. Completely raw. The whole thing's up there.
No one will be listening at this point. It's just going to be you and me, mate.
Brilliant. Nice. It's practice. Just another skill.
How many subscribers have you got? When does this go?
It goes on YouTube on a page called A Spoken Mess, because I used to be shit at socializing, to put it simply. But I think I've slowly, through time, I don't know how, but slowly gotten better. And it could also be because I like the idea of everything being put back together from a mess.
Yeah, I like that. That's a really interesting concept. Yeah, if you listen back to it and feel there's anything that I could get sacked for, you might want to cut that out. But, you know, what can you do? Have you got other students that follow you?
No. On my Instagram page, I think a few do. But yeah, very few listeners. Usually I get listeners from those that already have fans, like writers or artists. But other than that, it's just chance.
Oh, well, if I get sacked, I know it's you that's to blame, isn't it? I can come and get you.
Please don't.
No one else has snitched on me. I'm surprised you haven't got people following you.
Really?
Well, from uni, yeah.
They do on my Instagram page. Lorna obviously listens. She enjoys them.
Do you? Yeah, absolutely. Do you post links on your Instagram to your channel?
I do, yes.
Well, maybe if you put Ali talks to Jason, and people go, "Hold on, Jason who? Jason Pitt." We might get a bleed out of students that are that can quite happily sack me and string me up.
I will do that, actually. Thank you. I'll put that on a few of my social medias where my peers will see. Do
you do Twitter as well?
No, I don't.
That's the only thing I do, because I just figured I ought to do some social media just to allow students greater access. And, you know, I only follow students, they only follow me. I only follow the students, I don't follow anybody. It's not a personal account, it's just, you know, it's the graduates mostly, actually, who just sort of, you know. But how interesting. Well, send me the link.
Okay, I will do. There was actually one more question I wanted to ask before we finish up shortly. Have you ever created or written scripts or work of your own, films or?
Yeah. You haven't had me in the first year. There's probably about 9 or 10 scenes knocking about, that some of which you'll come across in the third year, that I write specifically for third year stuff, for the theatre and for the film studio performance in the third year. So there's a few of those. Yeah, I directed a short that I actually got. What I tend to do is I know sort of writers, and I'll go to them and have a conversation like this about what I really want to discuss and deal with within the 30-minute script or a scene. And we'll have a big to and fro, and then they put flesh on the bones for it and send it back, and then I script edit it and say, that's not what I mean this, and then, you know, I'll go with that. I've also got about 3 ex-students that are really good writers that I've had since the first year all the way through, who have now left. And I'll go to them. There's a good few scripts that I use from ex-students that write specifically from a young person's perspective for young people. I love new writing more than I like. I really like new writing.
Okay.
Written specifically. And so I'll often engage the skills of people I know, mostly ex-students. I'll go to Darren. So the film I'm directing in over Easter is called Daz's Boot. And again, I went to Darren with a load of kind of concepts because I didn't have time to write it. He's good.
Yes.
He's a good writer, Darren.
I like his writing.
So yeah, and I tend to write really gritty sort of stuff, and he'll tend to lighten it up, which is quite good. So I've got a good sort of relationship with Darren in that sense. But yeah, I do write stuff. I do write stuff.
Awesome. I really look forward to that film.
Huh?
I really look forward to that film. Are you the sole director?
I'm producing and directed. Darren's my first in it. Yeah, I wrote. I produced and directed something about 3 years ago called Receiver, which all took place in a phone box because most of my youth took place in a phone box. Most of the things that happened to me took place in a phone box, or some of the key seminal things that happened to me happened in phone boxes. The conversations I had, and I just wanted to encapsulate that. So I do. Yeah, I do. I'm not very good at it, but I like it.
Yeah, it's fun. It's all releasing that little creative devil. But
yeah,
thank you so much for joining me. This has been really fun.
I've enjoyed it too. Thank you so much for inviting me.
You're most welcome. It was fun during a voiceover lesson.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Yeah. Cool. That's good. Great. Cheers, mate. Thanks very much. I'll see you soon, in the flesh.
Yes, definitely. See you soon.
Bye, all right, mate. Take care. See you, mate. Bye-bye. Pleasure.